All right, let's dive into one of the most fascinating ways a mind can work, the savant mind. We're going to explore how what seems like total sensory overload can paradoxically unlock this profound understanding of the universe's hidden order. It's pretty wild. And this quote right here, it just sets the stage perfectly. We're not talking about someone who's just really good at memorizing things. No, this is something else entirely. It's like having a direct line, a backstage pass, to reality's fundamental structure. So that brings us to the central mystery, right? I mean, it feels like a total contradiction. How on earth can what looks like overwhelming chaos actually lead to this incredible clarity? Well, the answer is an absolutely amazing story of how the brain can adapt. So where do we start? Our investigation begins with the first major clue. It's a phenomenon that completely rewrites the rules of perception, and it's all about what happens when the senses start to, well, blend together. Okay, so let's get this key term down, synesthesia. And check this out, it's not a disorder, it's actually a hyper condition. You can kind of think of it like sensory crosstalk in the brain, where the wires for sight, sound, and touch get creatively tangled up. Now this is where it gets really interesting. For most of us, on the left, we live in a world of separate segmented streams. Sight is sight, sound is sound, simple. But for someone with synesthesia, over on the right, it's a completely blended reality. Numbers have their own unique colors, music might have a physical texture you can actually feel, and time? Time isn't just a straight line. It can be a whole 3D landscape that you can move through in your mind. So why does this even happen? Well, you've got two main views. The scientific view points to hyperconnectivity, basically extra neural pathways that let the senses talk to each other. The yogic view uses a different lens. It talks about a mind that's more porous, one that allows the raw, unfiltered energy of the world to just flood right in. But you know what? Both perspectives are pointing to the exact same thing, a world without those firm perceptual boundaries. And here's the crucial part. This sensory chaos isn't just noise. It actually forces the mind to evolve, to develop a kind of survival mechanism that ends up becoming an incredible strength. We're talking about an adaptive superpower. You see, our verbal, linear minds, which are mostly run by the brain's left hemisphere, are constantly filtering and labeling everything. The source material calls this the tyranny of the left hemisphere. But what happens when that system gets totally overwhelmed and bypassed? The brain has no choice but to engage with the world on a much, much deeper level as pure, raw, pattern-based data. So how does this superpower actually work? Well, it seems to be built on three pillars. First, there's this intense focus, an ability to see hidden structures and patterns that seem totally unrelated to the rest of us. Second, the brain shifts into a theta wave state. That's the frequency of deep intuition, where you start seeing relationships, not just things. And finally, the right hemisphere takes charge, processing reality as one single integrated system. It's not about learning facts one by one, it's about seeing the entire architecture all at once. And all of this brings us to what might be the most mind-bending part of this whole story. This is a concept that could fundamentally change how you think about, well, thinking itself. For the savant mind we're talking about, complex ideas aren't just strings of words. They are living, breathing, multidimensional structures. A philosophical argument or a mathematical proof isn't just something you recite, it's something you construct and experience, like a geometric simulation happening inside your head. Thought literally becomes architecture. And this quote about the savant, Daniel Tammet, is just, wow. It perfectly illustrates the point. He doesn't solve a calculation. He watches two shapes merge to create a third. For him, math isn't about abstract symbols on a page. It's this physical, visual process where colored, textured shapes interact with each other, and the answer just sort of appears. It's an event he observes. So just think about that for a second. When we see savants try to communicate these incredibly complex ideas, they're not just pulling words from memory. They are performing this act of massive translation. They're taking a fully formed, multidimensional geometric concept from their mind and painstakingly trying to reduce it, one letter at a time, into what the source calls the one-dimensional prison of our alphabet. Okay, so after exploring this incredible internal world, what if you could get just a tiny glimpse of it for yourself? Well, the source actually offers an experiment for us to try. It's called the Dragon Trial. All right, so here's what you do. This is basically an experiment in forced synesthesia. First, find a simple, repetitive pattern, like a metronome ticking or a light blinking, and just get into a calm, focused state. Second, you're going to consciously assign a color and a texture to that sound or light. Then, third, for about 3 minutes, you just map the relationship. As the input changes, notice how your internal visual changes with it. Now, the real test here is consistency. If your internal map holds true, like if a faster beat consistently makes the color brighter in your mind, then you've just used your brain to find a hidden order. You found a real pattern linking two totally different senses. And that kind of leaves us with the final question, doesn't it? The savant mind shows us what's possible when that constant inner narrator, that word machine in our heads, is silenced. It really makes you wonder, what other patterns, what hidden codes might we all be able to perceive if we could just learn to look at the world a little differently?